can come like a typhoon. He's just keeping people like all. It's until very recent, by the way, that they started giving them masculine names. Just do your research. But that's the kind of guy he was. He gave that thing. Then the guys were like, they're impressed. Like, this guy is really good at what he's doing. And then they took a break. And then when they're taking a break, like now analyzing what he was doing, he was playing with that. He was playing with something. He was just playing, mumbling. Then he was told, okay, on to the next part of it. Now it was a different segment. They're talking about finance, and he was going into finance, and he was really good at general knowledge. So he was able to break down finance things. And he was given another slot where, he really went into detail talking about how that thing is going on. So, and the way the people were nodding and all that stuff, he was told, okay, good, now you can. There's also another break there. Then they're analyzing what you're saying. Did he get his stats right? Because he said many of the things that even those who had prepared the scripts had not even thought about. Like, I was like, this guy is so knowledgeable. So what happened is, during that break, when they're analyzing, trying to verify, did this guy say error in what you're saying? Then it's all okay, fine, you go, good. We'll don't call us, we'll call you. You know how the story goes. So later on, he asks his agent, hey, by the way, CNN, because he was really happy with how he performed. He's like, that day, imagine the things I've been reading that week, like they just fitted into the interview. Like he was like, yeah. He told, now when he called his agent told him, but hey, by the way, I got feedback for you. Yeah, you didn't get the job. He's like, what? But he said that, but didn't you think I was impressive? Like, you are very impressive. When you're on this, when the camera was rolling, you are very impressive. When this was, you are very, But he's like, what happened? He said, you lost the job because of what you did when the cameras were not rolling. You get? And many times as Christians, that's why we lose it. Many times we lose it because we're only nice when we're in choir. We're only nice when we are coming to church. Those are the times that we put on Q Adventista. We think that now this is the time, But how are you when the cameras are not rolling, when the camera is not on you? Imagine, because that's really where Christianity happens. That's where it is. It's very easy to be, when I just know that I have only 15 minutes for this camera to be on me and look like a happy Christian. But then when things hit you, how do you respond to that kind of situation? So the thing about being always on, I'm just bringing it about that when we think about this whole relationship, I'm trying to have it from a holistic perspective, because I'm trying to look at it from the point of, how do you relate with everybody else? Because many times when you started the relationship, many times people, like Bill rightly said, we always think about the other person, but we don't. It's very easy to ignore our contribution to being in a relationship. First of all, your choice of, how did I find myself where I am? Because your location has a lot to contribute to your choice of a mate. For example, if I told you I was walking in Koinange and I met a fair, light-skinned girl and she called me, that story already doesn't sound very nice. You know what I mean? And depending also on the time of day, it was 7 and you met at Koinange. You get what I mean? Like, some of those things that we tend to ignore a lot of things, but those contributions end up to being who we are. So the thing is, are we always on? Because sometimes we make decisions that are off, and then we want God to make them on. I already made a bad decision about where I met, where I interacted. Well, now I'm praying for God to bless this particular situation I found myself in. I'll throw it to you because you looked at me like I've talked a lot. First of all, just to test my babu speak, is there anything you guys have got out of what I've said? Is that applicable to your lives? And is there any question? Because as by the way, when it ends, we'll drop mic. This grass is soft, the mics will not break. I'm joking. Huh? Yes? Okay, fine. Anything that needs clarity about what we've said as we continue building on this?
No? Okay, fine. So I wanted to do this 844 style and just ask, what is character? Do we have any 2 volunteers to define what character is? What is character? Maybe we are starting from the wrong point. But what is character? When someone says, that guy has character, or he has a good character, or she has a very good character, what's that? What are they talking about? Any takers? There's no wrong or right. There is no wrong or right. What's character? Yes. Maybe you can stand so I can hear you. Yeah, overall picture of your habits.
Thanks.
That makes sense. A consistent pattern in your behavior.
Like that consistency. Good.
Habits, consistency. Any other females? Maybe yes. Excellent. It's what you do when you're being watched and what you do when you're not being watched. Actually, you know, when I thought about character, I thought about personal branding. Has anyone heard that term? It's a hot cake. Personal branding. It's a big thing because it defines what people say about you when you're not in the room. That's how, in the simple millennial way, it's defined as that. And I find that powerful because that's essentially what all our patriarchs and all our, not matriarchs, but all the people in the Bible who went ahead of us and stood the test of time did things when they were not being watched. Of course, you can think about Daniel and other examples. And so what we found a really nice buzzword was, other than character, it's important for us to define our personal culture. You know, families have culture, companies have culture, corporate culture is more well-known than personal culture, but it's just as important as Christians to define what our personal culture is. So basically, it's a set of beliefs or values that we hold dear to us, but not just that, that thing that makes you different from the next person. So we can all say we have a UoNSDA personal culture, but then there is that individual culture, your personal culture, that makes you different as a member of the bigger body from the next person. So do any of us have an idea what our personal culture is like? Or can you define one of someone who you know has a very strong personal culture? That thing that makes you different, stand out from the rest.
Let me try to ask it in a different way.
Those guys have answers. Those ones.
Which ones? Those ones. There's a hand coming up. Do I see a hand coming up going? Okay, you guys, let me tell you what usually I notice about some of these discussions is in the beginning, people are just like this. They're watching. Then when the time is ending, everybody's like this, like this, like this. Ask, I told you, we'll just do like this. So for the sake of yourself, and let me tell you also, part of learning is just taking that step, taking that step of, it's okay to be corrected. Just take it. In life, a lot of people, part of the reason why parliament is filled with a lot of people who we don't believe need to be there is because they took the step. Yeah. Those sharp ones, they remain in the office. So now if they didn't present themselves, then what happens, So at risk of being a parliamentarian, anyway, you guys, if there's something else that's just asking that question about, what is it?
Personal culture.
What's your idea of what personal culture is? What's your idea of, or how do you see it?
Or you can define
it.
Someone else's, like my dad's personal culture, my mom, my cousin, whatever.
Oh, good. Just...
Yes, what I can say is personal culture is what you've been always doing and you do it.
Give us an example, please.
For example, okay, our politician Baba, when it comes to the stage, we expect him to start. Yeah, we are used to it. And when he comes and if he comes and don't start his conversation that way, like he has broken his culture.
I think that's more like a trademark than it is culture. A trademark in Nile and Lama, like if you see this, this is for Coca-Cola. If you see that thing, it's for Safaricom. You see this, like that's his trademark. If somebody else tries to do that, they'll be like, you're trying to be like, yeah, it's part of it, builds the culture, but it is more of like an identifier. Sure.
I'm of the school of thought that personal culture relates directly to somebody's principle. I'll give an example of my dad because that's what you say to use. His personal culture, I would say, is he'll always do his best. Simple, each and everything he does, and whatever the result, he is okay doing that. He has done his best. So that's what makes his personal culture. Everything rotates around that. So personal culture is that central thing that your life rotates around. So it's like principles essentially. Yeah.
Thank you. I like that. Let's hold that a bit longer. How has your dad's culture impacted
you? I've taken the same mentality. I think it's a crucial one in a world where there's a lot of negativity and disappointments. It keeps you going on the rough days and also the good days. So that's how it has impacted me. Yeah.
Thank you so much. But I am a father and she's a mother, and we are the father and mother of a child. So, nowadays in Nairobi, it can be father of somebody else and she's not. Anyway, but yeah, just to make it clear. and that's a really good thing. He said, nowadays I'm sensitive. When I hear father, I also want to hear, even me, I'm taking notes to be a father. I hope I could be that type of father to my daughter.
No, I mean, that's great. I wanted just to define personal culture so that we can now read from scripture about someone who had a very admirable personal culture. And it's from Genesis chapter 24, verse 3 to 14 and verse 17. So we read through highlights. Ted, you can highlight which verses you want to read.
Okay, let me pick out. Speak it from 18.
Okay, Genesis chapter 4, verse 3 and verse 18. Anyone? Genesis chapter 24, verse 18. Sorry, anyone can read whoever's found it?
And she said, drink, my lord. And she hesitated and let down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink.
Continue, just continue reading. Yes.
And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw water from the camels also until they have done drinking. 20. And she tested and emptied her pitcher into the trough and ran again unto the well to draw water and drew for all